welcome to Iron Dinos. I'm Shaun and I'm here with Adam.
Hey!
And as you're probably aware by now, Games with Gold is done. It's dead. It is deceased. It has left the mortal coil. And obviously Games of Gold has been a very, very big part of this channel for a long, long time. So we thought we'd have a little chat about Games of Gold, about the past and what it's meant to us and what it's meant to the channel and this, that and the other. So without further ado, I'm just going to tell you that Games of Gold unofficially started with Fable 3, which was available from the middle to the end of June in 2013. Now, this wasn't officially a game with gold, but it was offered for free in the lead up to the start of Games of Gold. The first Games of Gold, and this is really interesting, right? The first Games of Gold is a game called Defense Grid: The Awakening, which was available from the 1st to the 15th of July 2013. It is a tower defense game that was released at Xbox's digital store, originally released in 2009. So everyone complaining about the budget games of the last year and saying Games of Gold got shit, it was always that kind of stuff. The next game available, to be fair, was a heavy hitter. It was Assassin's Creed 2. It was followed by several months of name games. A lot of them were actually Xbox IPs. So Crackdown, Halo 3, Dead Rising 2 was in there, before settling into more of a mix of big name games and Xbox Live lower budget titles. So by and large, what it became from there on out, really, for many, many years. So that's the Xbox 360 side of it. They started adding additional Xbox One games with Halo Spartan Assault, a twin-stick shooter that was concurrently launched on phones, and I've never heard of, and Max, The Curse of Brotherhood, again, direct to the online store 2D platformer, and they were released. They were available from the 3rd to the 31st of July. No, the 3rd of June to the 31st of July, 2014. From there on, there were 4 games a month for years and years until the end of September, 2022. A little over a year ago today, when they decided to cut off doing the Xbox 360 games. The final one of which was Portal 2, so, I mean, end on a hell of a belter. And from then, they didn't say, because the point of doing the 4 games was to offer an Xbox One game. Well, over time, that meant less and less, because, you know, there were budget Series S games and stuff. So after that, it was 2 games a year until the end of September 2023, when the entire thing was put to bed. So Adam, if you can cast your mind back into the sandy mists of time, do you remember how you heard about Games of Gold, or what promoted it to you, or did you just see it on there one day? Were you a long time Xbox Live? Yeah, it would have been Xbox Live Gold, right? Were you a subscriber to that long before Game Pass was an idea?
I didn't have an Xbox for the longest time. I was more Nintendo boy, and so and obviously the PC. But in terms of gaming, not really at all. It was John, who people might remember, who started the channel with me, and Dan. He introduced me to Xbox about, I want to say about 2 years before this channel started. So yeah, about 2015, I got my hands on an Xbox, and that was when I started sort of. I'm quite bad. I wasn't downloading the Games of Gold. I knew it was there, and I knew it was available to me. But I never really downloaded them until John said, you should really be downloading these. These are like free games they're giving you. And it was just like, oh, okay. So I downloaded the odd one or two, wasn't really bothered by it. And then when we started the channel, I had an idea for the channel, and it was like, right, what direction we're going in, what do we want on the channel? Games of Gold was one of the things we wanted to put on the channel. So it was like, right, I need to start downloading these and playing these. So I started downloading them and playing them along with the channel, because for those of you in the know who've been with us for quite a while, I took a massive step back right near the beginning. So along with listening and watching all the videos that the guys were making, I was downloading the games and playing them.
Yeah, because I was going to say, because when I joined the channel after you'd left, but before we'd started releasing videos and stuff, Games of Gold wasn't a thing we were doing. That came a year or so late. That actually, I believe, came about specifically because John had Jason and Cameron over to his place. I was invited, but I was probably away or something. I couldn't make it. And they did like a full day record session. Yeah, and that was. I think that was the. Well, it is. I've got it written down here, actually. Yeah, the first Game with Gold game we released was Assault Android Cactus, a game everyone involved in that video has told me numerous times that they hate with a passion. That was in July 2018.
But basically, there was a load of. I've got the notebook somewhere. There was a load of ideas that me, John, and Dan threw out for the direction of the channel, and Games of Gold was one of them. So even though to begin with the guys weren't doing it, it was always there, and I was always sort of getting prepared for that. So I started. Which is
why he took 4 years off. For exploding back on the channel, firing everyone who has. I'm holding on with the skin of my teeth. He's fired everyone else. Now Games of Gold is gone. He needs me.
Yeah, exactly. FYI, it's not really like that, I swear.
Adam is a lovely man. I have to say that.
So yeah, yeah, he's under contract. So I came back, and one of the first games that John said to me to start with was actually not the first video of mine on the channel. It was Mech City Brawl. That was the very first. Yeah, that was the very first Games of Gold game I played with John and recorded. However, it was the game after that we recorded that actually got released first. So, and that was Portal Knights. So the devs for Portal Knights were King Games, published by 505 Games. Year was 2017. Co-op 3D sandbox action RPG. You basically leveled up your character. You could craft loads of powerful gear. Like defeat loads of enemies, and then you like opened up portals to new places and speak to like loads of NPCs. And yeah, it was basically a massive sandbox type game. And yeah, it was quite good. I remember it being quite good. Very sort of Minecraft-esque without being Minecraft, if that makes sense. And so that was actually the very first Xbox Games with Gold that I did on the actual channel. So yeah, well, what about you? What was your first?
Well, I thought I knew what my first was, and I'm kind of right. So, the first Game with Gold I remember being a Game with Gold and playing because it was a Game of Gold is a game called Pool Nation FX. There was a Game with Gold in 2015. And I know that because I had for the longest time held off buying an Xbox One because I was seriously trying to decide to go over to the PlayStation 2 It's PlayStation 4 even, not jumping back 2 generations. And I was really unimpressed with Microsoft's launch of the Xbox One. And to this day, I think it's quite a weak console that Game Pass saved. But what happened is there was a Batman game called Arkham Knight coming out. And I'd resisted, and I'd resisted, and I'd resisted. And one day, I went into... it was on the Saturday before the game released. Because I went into town to get my dad what I believe was a Father's Day card. And I came home with an Xbox One and a pre-order for the game. So I had an Xbox One, but I had nothing to play on it. So that was when I remembered the Games of Gold thing. So that would have been me signing up to... I imagine it would have been when I signed up to Gold again. Because I don't really like playing games online with strangers. So for the most part, I didn't actually have a Xbox Live subscription. So I'm sitting here with this massive telly, this brand new Xbox One, and I'm playing this bog standard, basic as hell, budget pool game. Like laughing with my friends as we're starting to have a drink and, oh yeah, this is the mighty Xbox One, is it? It's got slightly shiny pool balls and like 7 different background locations to it. It really was a crap game. It really, really is crap. But going back through the list of all the Games of Gold, I realised that was not the first one I had. So I must have had a free trial or done... had like a 3-month thing previously, because going back, I much more fondly remember I got Dust and Elysian Tale, which was released in May 2014, so good year before I got round about a year before I got my Xbox One. So, and I couldn't see much of anything else in the list I'd actually got from there. But Dust and Elysian Tale is quite appropriate considering the last game we've covered on here, because it is also a Metroidvania. It is also a furry game. It's a wonderful 2D Metroidvania. So lots of platforming, lots of stat raising, lots of close combat, stuff like that, with a wonderful story, and you have to make your way around this. It's a wonderful tale of revenge. You are part of... You wake up in a land that is all but destroyed by an invading army, and you choose to join the remaining vestiges of the town that was there before, in trying to fend off this army. And it is an excellent game. One that I remember very, very fondly, and have actually, I think I 100%ed it. I know I've gone back and replayed it a couple of times, unlike a lot of the Games of Gold. So yeah, that was my actual first game with Gold, as opposed to the one that I thought was the first for all of those years. So getting back to the broader subject of Games of Gold, you'd have joined in the greatest days where you were getting 2 Xbox 360 and 2 latter day Xbox One on games. What were your thoughts when they announced the change? No more Xbox 360.
I was a bit sad, actually, because even though it's like backwards compatibility, and that essentially they're meant to be lesser games, there was a lot of Xbox 360 games that were really good. And they could have carried that on, like, with the Xbox One games. I mean, I know eventually you're going to run out of Xbox 360 games, but there was some really, really good ones that they never even approached, or perhaps they didn't get the permission to, or I don't know what the story is, but yeah, I felt like they could have carried that on. But obviously their direction was to shut it down, so that was sort of the first step, I guess.
Yeah.
To closing it. So yeah, I was a little sad actually. What about you?
Yeah, same. I mean, we were still getting up to the end. We were still getting interesting stuff. Hydrophobia.
Love that.
That immediately springs to mind.
Yeah.
Well, I can understand why they stopped it. Like with the original announcements being the way they were, I very much think that was when Xbox Live Gold was going to go and Games of Gold was going to go completely. And I think enough people kicked up a fuss that they limped Xbox Live Gold on for another year, and they felt, well, we've got to give them something for that. So yeah, we got the games we got for the last year, and I think there's been some good stuff. I think there's been some very interesting stuff that otherwise I wouldn't have. I certainly otherwise wouldn't have played or perhaps even known about. That, to be fair, that is a place where Game Pass will excel, because it's full of smaller, it's got a huge, very wide range of games on there. But the thing is, and again, this is very specific to me, and Xbox can't base all their decisions around that. But without having to do it for the channel, I'm less inclined to pick up something like, what was that game where you're on a weird island, you have to photograph all of the wildlife?
Oh, yeah. What was that called?
Or whatever that was. I wouldn't.
That was beautiful.
I enjoyed my time with that immensely, but I wouldn't pick that on Game Pass.
No.
I played it because it was a game with gold, and I really enjoyed my time with it. But otherwise, I wouldn't have come across it whatsoever. So, like, things like that. I mean, I've made this comment before, but I do think Xbox could have cast their net a little wider in the latter days of Games of Gold. Like, I released a video game. I released a video a year or more back on a game called Demon Turf, which is a phenomenal 3D platform game. Stuff like that, I think, really could have. You're never going to keep on side the people who think they're going to get a AAA game every month, but you can't listen to those people. You've got to do what's sensible and feasible to do. And I think Game Pass is the best way to do that. But if you were to have Games of Gold at the same time, like, at least keep them interesting and varied.
I mean, essentially they were giving you free games, like they're actually giving you free games. I mean, Game Pass, they give you the opportunity to play the game, but it's not yours. Like, they'll take it away. So yeah, pros and cons. But the game you was remembering, by the way, is Beasts of Maravilla Island.
Ah, that was it.
Totally
I never
did
would
not
have
look
remembered
that up, and I totally remembered that.
Yeah, like, I do. I might sometimes come across a bit pissed off with on the channel, a bit pissed off with people moaning about the quality of the Games of Gold, and I really hope it comes across that I get annoyed with the people who are paying for Game Pass and think every month they should be getting a 2 to 3 month old AAA game for free from Microsoft, and then spend their time shitting and getting angry and complaining specifically at the developers of the smaller games that took up Microsoft's offer, I think is
totally.
entirely I'm not interested in AAA games anyway, particularly, so, that would have been useless to me, but, I wouldn't have complained if it was always Assassin's Creed games or something like that. I might have played Black Flag. In fact, I think I have Black Flag through Games of Gold. But no, my point always tried to be, if you're paying for Game Pass, these games literally are being given to you free. If you were still just playing for Xbox Live Gold, then maybe you had more of a leg to stand on, but effectively what you're paying for there is the discounts and the online connectivity. So the games were still something of a bonus. But no, my real complaint was when people would go on to these smaller games and leave them bad reviews as though they are bad games, as opposed to they are not the game that particular person wanted, and therefore they hate the people that made the game and they hate the game for existing. And that's what I have issue with. That's what I consider to be not only very childish but quite damaging to the studios, that Microsoft walked up to them with a big sack of cash to say, hey, can we give your game few people have heard of away for free, and then loads of people will have heard of it and will play for it, and we're going to give you money to do that. Of course you're going to say yes. You would be an imbecile not to. And
that's what Games of Gold for me, in my view, was always about.
I've been through the list.
You're given these,
always half of it has pretty much always been that anyway. And the rest, when you were getting bigger and more, when you were getting bigger AAA titles, they were pretty much all Xbox 360 ones. You weren't really getting AAA Xbox One games for the most part.
You're getting budget games that wouldn't necessarily have reached your eyes or ears, and you're putting it on a platform with Games of Gold, and yes, you're getting it for free, but it gives them such a platform to step off of and get their studio out there, and some people out there might be thinking, oh wow, this is a really good game, who made this, and take notice of the studio and think, oh actually I'll keep an eye out for them. It gives them such a stepping stone, and that for me is what Games of Gold is all about. It wasn't to get a AAA game. Some of the totals, if you go back through the months, some of the totals was 60-70 quid's worth of games. It's you was getting your money's worth and then some. Why would you complain about that? It's just
No, and we try to be a very positive channel. When we're doing the games with Gold, unless it's something truly quite dire, we do try to spin the positives and stuff like that, and try to keep an open mind with everything, because we're not professional games journalists or anything like that. We are a couple of guys who have full-time jobs, who enjoy each other's company and do this as a bit of a hobby, a bit of fun. So what's the point getting that? Was that Cat Cafe game? I could have torn that to shreds. But what would have been the point? Because I would have been utterly unfair for what it was. I tried to get in the mindset of the kind of person they are making this game for. And in that, I pointed out a couple of flaws, but for the most part, I love cats, so that's the mindset I got into it. And I walked around and I got to play with some cats, and that made me very, very happy.
Was that Calico?
Calico,
Calico?
Yeah. Which I believe is the name of an old computer system and is definitely a type of cat.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it stayed on my Xbox for a little while. I went back for it a couple of times, but I won't say I got 20, 30, 40 hours out of it, but we got a fun video out of it. I played it a bit more, and I was quite happy to move on, which, to be fair, with the volume of games you normally get, you can part of the idea is that you play one for a bit and you move on, and then you find one you really, really like, and that becomes your game for a little while,
Yeah, absolutely.
I had so much more I could have said. Was it Bomber Crew?
Bomber Crew.
The one where you're flying a plane and it's like a management sim within the plane.
Oh, yeah, that one.
Like, I think I was...
Bomber Crew, yes, you're right.
Yeah, I think
yes,
I was slightly meaner than I'd normally like to be on that video, and I did not like that at all. I did not like a single thing about that game, but, what is the point in doing a first impressions and just being a dick?
Yeah.
We talk a little more.
There was a few bad ones. Let's admit.
Yeah. There were some terrible games of golf. Of course there were. I'm not going to sit and pretend. Like I say, Bomber Crew was absolute shite.
Yeah.
But I'd rather be more constructive in what I'm saying about it. I don't think I was overly nice to that on the video, but I wasn't. I wasn't awful. But it's an experience. I had to play it for a little bit. I got fed up with it. I immediately deleted it. I spoke to Adam about it for a bit. Move on. There's probably another game out of that month that I did quite enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, like, just picking one out. Broken Sword 5. Like, I'd never played any of the Broken Swords. Like, ever. That was the point-click adventure. You're a detective.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I literally had no idea what you were talking about for a second. Because
you're a journalist or something.
Like, if you look at the Games of Gold list, there were a lot of them. You can't expect it. Even the ones we've done for the channel, I can't remember all of them. Probably even half of them.
Yeah, like, if I go to... All right, here we go. So, we've done 320. That is what is on our playlist.
That's on the playlist. So that includes... includes some other little bits we'll come on to in a second.
Yeah. So there's been a lot.
Yeah.
But that Broken Sword, like, I wouldn't have picked that up because before the channel, like, I don't think I ever played a point-click adventure.
Really?
At all. No. And the channel literally got me into those types of games. I'm still playing The Raven. I absolutely love it. It's brilliant. Like, I'm only have time for like 20 minutes, like maybe a week or something, to like chip away a little bit more. So I'm not going for it quick at all. I'm going for it at snail pace, but I'm enjoying it, and I'd have never have found that or picked that up without Games of Gold. So yeah, it gives budget titles like that. I mean, I don't know if that was a budget game, but it gives budget titles like that a chance to get onto people's Xbox and enjoy what they've created.
And for on bringing it back to the channel side of things, that has given us a tremendous amount of content over the years. We can't lie, that has driven a vast amount of our traffic. People coming to see, this new Games of Gold is out. These guys have done every single game with gold, right? So we've got a video on it, and we've been doing that for years. It has brought a lot of people. Things like Port Royale, that was a game with gold. Like,
Port Royale.
That's one of our highest performing videos. And when we put it out, I didn't think it was a great video because I didn't have a lot to say about it, but people seem to like it, so I'm not gonna. There you go. Look, I did Inertial Drift last week, and that's currently on 70 views. And of course we got, of all things, we were here out of it. Became a series and started the channel's move towards doing co-op puzzle games. That's because of Game with Gold, and that is something that people easily could have complained about. And actually, if you watch our first two videos, I do complain about it a lot. I was being very well, me and Jason, but mostly me, were being very stupid. That was
really. I never got that impression.
Yeah, I'll admit that was in the time when I was trying way too hard to be entertaining, as opposed to actually sitting, relaxing, and playing the game. And yeah, some of the older videos I can't watch. I don't. Once you get past those first 2 episodes of We Were Here, I think I've simmered down a lot, and that's a lot more watchable. But Christ, like some of those first 2 episodes is just makes you want to crawl into a hole and die.
You're always
Thanks, Games of Gold.
Always.
But yeah, I was going to say from Android. Assault Android Cactus, which was in 2018.
Wow. Yeah.
We did normally 2 to 3 a month of the Games of Gold before we'd moved on to doing all of them, because it gave us something to do, it gave us something to talk about. It got us away from doing GTA all the time, which I'd had enough of that by the time we stopped doing that.
Love-hate relationship there.
Yeah, and then with November 2020, Jason started making his monthly Games of Gold announcement videos. You remember those?
Oh yeah, they were fantastic. Loads of work, like not kidding. Like Jason put in so much work on those. Like,
he did, and I kept telling him ways to do it lazier and quicker, and he wouldn't do it. He insisted on doing them properly.
He is a perfectionist.
He is.
Like, yeah. So, like, congratulations to you, Jason. Like, shout out to you. Like, they were, in my opinion, phenomenal.
Yep.
Really, really good. Great.
So there we tried to do all of them. It used to be me and Jason swapping off with a long series on the Friday or the other day, whatever it would be, and then
I think your day was the Friday, yeah.
Then eventually Adam came on and started. You did you did most of the Games of Gold for a while, didn't you? I normally did 1 or 2 a month, but
that's it.
Along with my Friday videos,
and then I did the series with John, Minecraft Dungeons.
Yeah, that span out of Games of Gold as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did my legendary. I am disappointed. Right, I'm going to do a video at some point because I made those 2 Lego Killer Moth videos, and there is a 3rd game that I can also be Killer Moth in, and I made myself an actual physical Killer Moth helmet. I was going to get the costume
nice.
And do the last game
cosplay, huh?
In cosplay with a camera on it, just to be extra ridiculous. But it never came as a game with gold, so that has sat in my room for years now, and I will do something with that at some point.
I think you need to do it anyway.
It will at some point, but that's probably, that second one is probably my favourite thing I've ever done on the channel. Me recreating the Batman the Animated Series opening with Lego, and then covering up to that day every single comic book appearance it had. That's really funny because it's so off point of what that video is meant to be, which is covering Lego Batman 2. I just had that idea, like. With the first one, I was like, I've played this game, I know Killer Moth's in it, and he's one of my favourites, so let's have all the footage be all Killer Moths. And then the second one, I'm like, how can I top that? Oh, I know, this will be ludicrous. So I had plans for a 3rd one, and they never released it as a game with gold.
And let's not forget, it also gave us the brilliant singing talents of yours on Midway Arcade Origins.
Yes!
You haven't checked that out? Check that out.
Is that actually in that video, or is that on the Games of Gold announcement? Where did I put that? Or is it in a Dino cast? I forget.
It's definitely on the 100 sub special.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you had it in the video. I'm pretty sure.
I might have done. Maybe it's right at the end or something. I've not watched that. That was so much work. That was 2 days work doing that video. Because I'd literally played every single game. Yeah, but that's that. That's kind of our history with Game with Gold. We do have vague plans of what we're going to do instead. Actually, I've got some concrete plans of what we're going to do instead. But there will still be two. There will still be 2 videos a week. That's the plan. And yeah, so don't have to worry about that. Yep. DinoCast is going to remain.
Do not panic.
Yeah, DinoCast is going to remain. I like doing the DinoCast. And yeah, so goodbye, Games of Gold. You were an excellent source of content for the channel, and frankly, you gave me a lot of excellent games that I might otherwise not have played, and also some crap. And you can hear and experience our top 5 and 1 worst Game with Gold. Adam's got a list, I've got a list. There is still one last Games with Gold content video to come from this channel. Bye!
See ya!